thank you guys again so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Are you both from the same area? Did you grow up in the same area?
Close.
I grew up in the western suburbs, so on the other side of Minneapolis, so like the Plymouth, Maple Grove area, Minnetonka.
Okay. How about you, Ryan?
Northeast side. So North St. Paul, east side of St. Paul, Montemita, like those areas. Where I grew up, we both lived in Minneapolis for quite a long time, though. And now we live in St. Paul again, kind of close to I guess my roots at least. And so we've been here for 15 years.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Yeah. Very cool. And I want to hear from both of you guys, but how did you get into music?
Well, let's see. How did we both I guess we probably have different stories on that. You know, how we met in music is a whole other can of worms. But so I guess I got into music first by school band. You know, like sixth grade, picking up the trombone was the instrument I started on, which was an incredible rush once I started playing with other kids playing music, and I just couldn't believe that I was smiling so much I could barely play my trombone. I was like, this is crazy. So at that moment, I was sure what I wanted to do. So from that point, I just started playing in local bands that I started, and you know, starting to play out in the Minneapolis clubs like 7th Street Entry, the Caboose, the Fine Line, those kind of venues, and then just started getting integrated in the music scene in Minneapolis, which is super strong, as a lot of people probably know. Like,
yeah.
You know, you grew up here with like, you know, you had Husker Du, The Replacements, Prince, the Jayhawks, Soul Asylum, like all these bands. Like, just this is like where everybody's at. So it's a good scene, and that's how I kind of got into it, I guess. The DIY, just start a band and go out and play. You know?
Right on, yeah. How about you, Pony?
I played instruments a little bit in elementary school, but not for very long. So I played like violin and flute for a tiny bit, and then I always wanted to play the guitar ever since I was like 6. My older brother he's 10 years older, had a guitar, and then it was gone. And then I kept bugging my dad about it, and he got me when I was 12. It was an acoustic guitar, and he got for $5 at a garage sale.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it was a classical guitar, and I wish to this day I still had it, but I sold it to somebody, which is I regret. And then I got an electric guitar on my 15th birthday, and then I just did it myself. And then I was a skateboarder, so I had my skateboard guy friends also played guitar, so they'd give me their tab, and then I would just learn from there. And I actually didn't start taking lessons till I was about 17, 18.
Wow. And did you play in bands too, like in high school and after?
I was a little too afraid to. Like, I was intimidated because I didn't really feel like I was, you know, in high school anyway, a little more intimidated. And then I started to break out of that shell and started like my senior year, I started playing with like kids from another high school. And then I just started to put myself out there. I started working at First Avenue and just security, which but and then I met people through there, and then I joined a band called 100 Flowers, which was actually someone from my high school, but he was a few years older. And that band, like, his dad was an entertainment attorney for Prince back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, then I got really lucky. Like, I mean, it just, you know, from there, you know, I just, for some reason, just would hit and meet the right people. So then I did 100 Flowers, and then I ended up playing for Mark Mallman, who was he's really prominent in Minneapolis and tours, and he's prominent in the cities, and just great. And I played with him. And then I met Ryan and Mark Mallman, and then I ended up being in Melismatics.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you guys met playing in the same band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were both backing up Mark Mallman, our longtime friend. And he's this, I don't know if you're familiar with his music, but indie rock piano player, songwriter, really good lyricist, and he's always got kind of crazy stories to tell in his songwriting. really interesting guy. But we were both backing him up. I was playing guitar for him, and Pony was playing bass at the time. She also played drums for him, but that was on the tour we met was that. She was on bass. I was guitar. We had a really good time.
Yeah,
it was like, yeah, we had a like a vibe that was like, oh, she should be in the Melismatics. I kind of knew that the first time I saw her play, basically. So.
Wow. Was that your first experience touring? Was being the backup band, or had you toured with like your own projects prior?
I toured before. In fact, Melismatics was touring before Mark Mallman even was touring. So, but she was not in the band. We had a different lineup. We had a couple different guitar players before she joined us. So I've been touring for now. I think I started touring at like 18, so like I'd already been touring for a few years at that point, and yeah. But was that your first tour, right?
No, Mallman. We did a little bit like with 100 Flowers. It was a weekend, like we'll play in Eau Claire, or we're gonna play in Chicago, or it was just like a few times of that. That band was, I don't know. We were young, and our business model wasn't really the best business model. Wasn't terrible, but we're just figuring things out. But yeah, Mallman is when I really started touring a lot. I played drums for him for like 2 months. So like click tracks, headphones with a CD player. It was that long ago. You remember that? It would skip, and then
right.
to turn off the track.
The anti-skip Discman, that was like a legendary when it came out.
Or MP3 player. I mean, those were just starting to come out, I think. But yeah, I mean, the backup CDs, and yeah, it was fun. It was a real, it was a challenge, but it was really good.
That's awesome. And Ryan, you joined Soul Asylum, didn't you? You're a few years ago.
Yeah, it was 2016 that I joined. So it's been 4 years now.
Wow. And how did that relationship start?
That started rather mysteriously, actually. I mean, the Melismatics had played with Soul Asylum a bunch of times, so we knew each other, like not super well, but we were definitely acquaintances. And I think at some point they knew they were looking for guitar players, so we just noticed like the activity level between the bands started to increase. Like they asked us to open some shows. Dave sat in with us at a show. Michael Bland sat in with us for a gig, and there's a lot of this kind of, I guess, working together in these casual settings. I think they were getting to know us, and we were getting to know them a little better. And then I started getting these kind of cryptic emails that were like, I didn't know what they were, but kind of like, hey, can you learn these songs and show up at this location?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And then really, like, it was pretty quick. Like, I learned some of the, like, I think 25 songs, showed up and played, and we just ran, like, basically what was a show, like a set for an entire show.
Mm-hmm.
I think then they were like, well, can you go to, I believe it was Philadelphia and Dallas, Texas. They're like, can you go there this weekend? I was like, sure. And then like after that, then they were like, can you go on tour? And then it was like, you're in the band kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Were you guys married at the time when that?
Yeah. This was, because this is like Melismatics actually had kind of slowed down a bit. We put out our 6th studio record at that point, and we've been touring pretty heavily. Like we were doing 150 shows a year on the road, and we're getting, I think, as a band, kind of tired, and just we've been doing it so long together, and I think everybody.
We also had a baby.
Oh yeah.
So she was like 1.5. So that's down too. So.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all those things are kind of happening at once. Like band was slowing down with the touring. We had a baby, and the timing kind of worked out super well, where that started coming into fruition like at that time when it could happen, because really like it probably wouldn't have happened if it was like any sooner.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Sure. Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. And so with the Melismatics, did you guys were signed to a record label or no?
We were a couple different ones, a few different ones.
Oh.
Started, it was self-released. I kind of had this label I started in high school that just put out a few records, and we put out that first album is called Postmodern Rock, and then that album did, you know, like around here in Minneapolis, like we had gotten a lot of press, and it was making some waves on like CMJ and stuff, and then we started touring, and then there was a label from Minneapolis, Sustones Records, which Ed Ackerson, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he is a kind of revered producer from Minneapolis who actually sadly passed away a little over a year ago. And he started a record label called Sustones back in the 80s. And
okay.
He's a guy that worked with kind of everybody in Minneapolis. I mean, he had worked with The Replacement, Soul Asylum. He had a band called Polera and the 27 Various. And anyway, he was a really, really cool guy. He had this label, and we signed with him for a couple of albums. Then we signed to CC Entertainment, and at the time it was called Koch, which is now E1 or Entertainment One or something. But it's that was Bobby Z's label, the guy from the drummer from Prince and the Revolution.
Oh man.
So we were on that for one record, and then we signed to a label out of Chicago, Pravda Records. And we've been on Pravda. We did the last 2 records with them, and then our new album, Moshi Moshi, comes out on Pravda.
Oh, could That's awesome. So it's all kind of stayed within the family, so to speak. Yeah, that's rad. When you did the record with Prince's drummer, did you ever get to meet him?
Oh yeah, many times. Yeah, very cool guy, and yeah, he's I don't know, he's just an interesting dude. He's very quiet. He doesn't say a lot. You know, he was in Purple Rain, and like the way he is in Purple Rain is like how he really is. You know, he's just like few words when he says them. They're really important. Then there's a lot of space, you know.
Sure.
So and he ran the record label. We worked with John Fields on the producing of that album. So, and John Fields, another thing that we're how it's all in the family. John Fields produced the last 4 Soul Asylum albums, and you know, produced a bunch of other bands. You know, so everything kind of ends up being weirdly connected.
Sure. Wow. And then what made you guys decide on starting your guys' band, Ryan and Pony? Well,
before Soul Asylum came into the picture, and when the Melismatics were slowing down, we both knew that we wanted to continue on. You know, like we weren't necessarily as burnt out as maybe the other guys were. And I was writing a ton of songs. She was writing songs, and I needed a vehicle for what we were doing. And I originally thought, I'm just going to start a new band, a new name. We were going to, I think, call it the Cosmic Shakes was kind of the most, viable option for a new name. And
that's a cool name.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure it's probably really hard to find a band name now.
Really hard
with the internet and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. There's, I mean, like every word's been used, like, but
sure.
Actually, Pravda that said, well, you know, we've been working these Melismatics records, and they were getting some traction with what they were doing, and they said it would be a lot better if you could tie this into the Melismatics versus just some new band, you know, in air. So they suggested, why don't you call it Ryan and Pony? And at first I was like, you know, that doesn't sound that interesting, but there's like Matt and Kim and Lauren and John. And I'm like, well, I guess like I can see that, you know, and I understand how it ties it in. So the name kind of grew on us. And the other thing is we actually technically are a 3-piece. We have a drummer, Peter Anderson, but he was totally cool with just like, you know, having it be more of a, like the duo and then the duo.
Right. So, sure.
But Peter added a lot to the record. He's a phenomenal musician. I mean, he's always got input on everything. And,
wow.
Yeah.
So when did you guys start writing what's going to become Moshi Moshi?
That started probably back right when we slowed down touring. I think the first song that I specifically set aside for the new project, not even knowing the name, was called First Night. And the song is kind of about rebirth. And it was like on so many levels relevant to our life because we were having a kid and it was like this band was like we were starting a new project and just everything in life was kind of new. And that was probably back, boy, I mean, it had to be 2014. So
oh wow,
years ago, yeah. And I had done a lot of the production for the record like before Soul Asylum before that. And then when that happened, I got so busy with what was going on that, you know, it took 4 years to turn in the record, you know, that we started. So.
Okay. Well, because I see on at least on your Spotify, you guys have a song out called Low. And then and that was released in 2016.
Yeah.
Was that the first song you had put out, so to speak?
That was the first song that was released, but it was not the first song recorded for that album. So, and I think that was a way that, you know, because it was a new project, we didn't have a website, we didn't have anything. I mean, it was like, it didn't exist yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like kind of the way to create an existence online because otherwise it was like starting from absolute scratch. So,
sure.
You know,
will that song be on the record?
That will be on the record.
Okay, cool. So so you have a couple songs out now, and then you put out Fast As I Can in 2018. So were you guys doing like, so from, you said you wrote the song in 2014, were you playing shows and stuff, or have you just kind of kept it within between the two of you?
No, we played some shows. Like our first show actually was playing First Avenue, opening for the Suburbs, who are a legendary band from Minneapolis. Again, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but
I've heard the name.
Yeah, they were like a post-punk band they started in the 70s.
Yeah, I know the name. Like I can see their like text with the logo. Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, they still got that logo. Amazing band. But that was like our first show. We have the same manager as the Suburbs and a couple other Minneapolis bands. And so that was like our first show. It hasn't been so much like a live thing as much as it's been like a video/studio project. But I mean, that, especially now with COVID, I mean, you know, we got, in addition to a 5-year-old, we've got these dogs that I didn't factor in, that they're just like.
Oh, it's okay. I have a dog too, but yeah, he's also probably locked in the bedroom.
Our dogs in the bedroom, they would be like just barking constantly.
Yeah, I get it. It's like with everybody being stuck inside, it's just like you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, man, it's all good. It's all good.
But yeah, with COVID, you know, like the live show thing kind of became irrelevant anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
sure.
So it is what it is, you know.
Yeah. Well, you said you've done. I noticed like on a lot of your artwork is a lot of the anime type. Look, is that something you guys are really into, anime?
Well, you know, like I don't think either of us are fans of anime per se, but I always admired anime and always wanted to like have a band that was like, you know, I was like what the Gorillaz did was kind of cool.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? Like just turning yourself into a cartoon character. And through Soul Asylum, we met this amazing artist, Sarah Miscavige, and she's like phenomenal. And she's an anime artist. She does all kinds of art, but she was doing some stuff for Soul Asylum. And then when it came time that we needed a music video, you know, that was like, oh, here, these stars are aligning. She can do this actually and pull this off. And then with the title being Moshi Moshi, the whole, you know, concept came into completion. You know, it's like got this anime vibe. And so it's an integral part of the imagery and the whole kind of
the package, kind of, so to speak. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I think the art, I've seen a couple. Or the most recent video I watched was called Thunder Love, and that video is rad. Like the way you cut the live aspect of it within the kind of the cartoony.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, you guys just put that one out, right? That video.
Came out. Yeah, like I don't recall the date, but it's only been out for a matter of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Right before that, maybe a month before that, Start Making Sense came out, and that's got a video as well. And then we've got another single coming out on the 21st of this month, August. Although I don't know when this is airing, so August 21st, either in the past or in the future. The single comes out, and there's a video for that as well. And then the whole album comes out on the 25th of September.
Very cool. What's the concept for the video that's coming out in later in August?
Yeah, it's actually using footage from a show from our first show at First Avenue, and it's got some of that, and then it's got some I don't know, kind of psychedelic elements of just cool lighting and stuff like that. I don't know. So there's no story to it, but to the video, but it's making videos in the modern age is an interesting thing. You can't get like a film crew together, so you have to work with the limitations of the modern era.
Sure. So like with Thunderlove, was that a video you guys had to put together during quarantine, or was that finished prior and you just released it?
It was partially both. Truth be told, some of the footage was from an older song. Like that was so yes and no. I guess it was completed during
the quarantine.
Quarantine, yeah.
And the new song coming out is done fully in quarantine?
Fully in the quarantine era.
Wow. Okay. Has that been a weird shift for you guys, having to focus only on doing stuff, online instead of touring and going out?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting change, and it's like a whole new, paradigm basically. But Tony, do you want to say something about that, or?
Yeah, I mean, musically, it's weird. It's different. I performed something online, and I'm like, this is so weird. And it was like a live stream on Facebook, and then you just get like hearts or whatever, or up, but it's weird, and then you're kind of like, okay, I'm not getting them right now, so am I sucking,
Right. Oh yeah, and the heart stopped. Like, what happened?
So weird. So then I just I didn't do it anymore. I mean, not because of that, but it's a little bit more takes more energy, especially with that.
Yeah. Is it more nerve-wracking going live on like the internet versus playing a show to thousands of people?
Well,
if it's recorded, yeah. But I don't know. Like, I really feed off of energy off of other people. So for me, it's a little different. But I know that like if this continued, I'd just adapt.
Yeah. So the live streams is something you guys have been doing to promote the record?
No, we haven't, but she did one on her own. I've done a few on my own, just like on her own personal Facebook pages.
Oh, sure.
With Dave Perner, we've been doing a weekly going live on Facebook from the Soul Asylum Facebook page. And that's weird too, because same thing, you're just looking at a phone. And, it's like however many people are watching it. I don't know, like at the time, because I can't tell, because I can't see the thing. But I know that by the next day when I look at it, I'm like, oh, there's like 11,000 or 13,000 people that watched it, or like views,
Right.
How it happened or when, but you go like, that's more people than at most shows, so you're like, well, but yet you're in your living room. So
right.
It's like,
we did a Zoom one too. And then you could a gallery view, and you could see like people sitting at their kitchen table or and then just staring.
Oh wow! So you guys did like a Zoom performance, so people could just like click a link and come in, and you could see like their little picture.
Yeah.
That's cool. How did you set that up? Did you like do something on your site or through your social media?
It was actually through a music camp. They were the audience were students.
Oh, cool.
A Q&A, and like you play songs, and then they ask you questions about, you know, how you got into music or what, and stuff like that. And so they came to us to do that. And other than that, like Dave and I did a Soul Asylum one like that, where somebody just hired us to play a Zoom, you know, concert for their friends.
Mm-hmm.
And you're, you know, thinking like, wow, I mean, to me, it seems like the way of the future, because, you know, it's like there's an actual interaction with the people.
Right.
They can ask questions. You can say something to them. They can laugh, or they can, like, you know, say something back. You can play them a song, and it's for those people. Whereas a lot of these other like online concerts, I mean, not to knock anything that's going on, because it's all like everyone's trying to be innovative, but
I'm trying to figure out.
Like if I tune into like a concert that's like super slick and it just looks, and there's just nobody at the show, and I'm watching it, I mean, honestly, like I could just watch a YouTube video of a concert from any time. Like there's no actual, there's nothing that's really making me feel like it's live or I'm actually there. Whether it's
there's nothing like special about it, so to speak.
So I don't really understand that.
But, yeah, you can't forget about those.
That's on your phone if you're doing that. But if you're doing those like big, you know, a lot of bands are doing high production. It just looks like, if you look at it, you would not have any idea when it was recorded, if it's really live or not. And that's the part I don't get. Like, I mean, I would watch that anyway, but I don't think I'd be like, I'm going to pay a lot of money to see that, because again, it just looks like something that's on YouTube. That you know, it's like, so why not just take footage of a good show you played when people were at shows and just post that? Because I mean, unless you're going to do something where people can actually feel like they're a part of it. Like,
like you said, like a Q&A or
something, right? Just something where there's, you know,
hologram your crowd.
I understand if you're stadium act, you're not going to do like a Zoom concert, you know. So like, I mean, unless like they're paying you enough where it was like you could do that. But I mean, you know, so it's I don't know. I don't think anyone knows the answer now, but
I know it's really interesting to kind of see the different avenues and different ways other artists are trying to be creative or break through. I know the drive-in concert thing is kind of a thing, but I don't know. I was talking to another band about this a couple weeks ago, and I was just saying, like, do you think, like, I don't know if you guys have any opinion on it. Like, do you think that's like something that could ever be sustainable? I just don't see how it could work.
Well, I'll say two things. First of all, good friends of ours, Local H, are doing that. Like, they've done 6 of those, and they've been successful. But I will also say that, you know, like, the idea of it seems so unsustainable that I don't know how. I mean, as a fan, again, I haven't experienced one yet, but I don't know, like sitting in a car, like listening through my radio for the band's like really far off. I don't understand. Like, it's probably like, I hate to say it's something I don't know if I would go to one, but like maybe I'd try one out, and if I loved it, I'm going. But I want to support music, and I want us to all have live shows. So if
I know
that would be something. We're Soul Asylum just, I think, is in the is going to be doing one too, like with Local H, actually, a drive-in concert. So
cool. Yeah, I know. I feel because they did one. We're in San Diego, and they did one here, and I just like, you know, it just seemed like they had Switchfoot perform, and they can only sell 50 tickets.
Yeah,
because there's only spaces for 50 cars to fit. And it was like, I think $50 or $100 a car, but still, like, you know, that's not enough money to pay the band and the crew and the stage and the, you know, all, like, I don't understand how you'd have to charge so much per car, like, to get it to even break even, I feel like.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about touring now. I mean, the whole idea is like, you need to fill rooms. So if you're going to go on tour, you can't go on tour and go like, well, our goal is to fill a quarter of a room. That would be like a failure. Like, you wouldn't go on tour.
Right.
You're going to do. So right now, it's like, sadly, like there is, and this is like how everything, you know, you kind of worry, like, is it going to collapse? Because no one can go on tour. I mean, like, I guess some people are doing it, but you know, very few, and it's not a good idea. And
no.
I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I mean, like to go on tour, like I guess if you trim down and like everybody gets in a station wagon and like there's, I don't know, you have no crew. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
Why would, then why, you know,
why
just,
do it?
Why do it? Like you get to a point where you're like, what's the point, you know?
I know. Hopefully it won't be the point where like, you remember when we actually got to go see big rock concerts?
Yeah.
You know, telling your kids about it, not.
I know.
I know.
I do think it'll come back. You know, it's just it's going to take a while, and
it'll take a vaccine or a cure or something.
Anything that makes it so people can once again be in large groups. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting world. Like with the like streaming and stuff, like you were saying, like you could just watch like a YouTube video of the band doing that. But I do like what you're saying with the Q&A and being more like, you know, like what we're doing right now. If it was a group of people and you guys played a song and then they're like, okay, like who wants, and then somebody clicks in and says, oh yeah, like ask a question or whatever. You can, and I think that will drive people, because if they got to actually ask their favorite artists a question, I think that's just like, you know, the next level of a show. If it'd be like paying for a, you know, meet and greet or whatever. Like I think it's really cool. And I mean, I think what else is cool, not cool about this, but it's like I'm talking to you guys and you're like in your house, and you know, and it's like you interview an artist and like, or if somebody was watching that and they're a fan, now they know that you have this white couch in your house and a cream wall. You know what I mean? Like it's just something you would have never, and you have some dogs, you know, and it's just things like that. I think that are kind of cool that we're all experiencing, because I don't think if everyone was stuck inside, like nobody was really doing live streams like in November. I don't feel like, I mean, it was a thing, but not really.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. Do you guys feel like it's weird gonna, you know, you have your record coming out? Is that concerning, or is it just kind of whatever?
Well, I think it's like good to know, like you're in the mindset that you understand that this is what it's like now, versus like 5 months ago or I don't remember what month that was. Like, so we were, Soul Asylum was on tour right before that. We had a record come out in, was it March? I don't know. This year is just like,
Soul Asylum. Yeah, I interviewed Dave Perner like a month and a half ago. Yeah, about it. Yeah,
it was like March, and we were on tour, and it was like going from, you know, we were living on a bus and just going out and doing the shows, getting back on the bus, and you're in your own little kind of satellite moving around, and I mean, it just seemed like shocking. I mean, it was shocking, I think, to anybody what was going on. But I mean, it was like seeing we're like on a road, and the bricks are like just falling apart, like right in front of you, and you don't know. I mean, at least now, I guess where I'm going with this is that now we've seen the road is like completely collapsed, so we know that.
Yeah,
we're not like on tour going, oh my God, the show in 2 weeks is canceled. Oh, then this show is canceled. Then this one, and it's just like everything is just like falling apart, like while you're driving. We, you know, before this album has come out, we've known that this is how the world is right now. And so we know the parameters, and we understand what we're in for, you know?
Right.
I think, like, at least mentally and emotionally, it's easier to deal with, because it's not like, you know, you've already seen where things are headed and where they're at.
Right. What were you? So you guys were on tour when, you know, everything got locked down.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, were you seeing show? Like, were you keeping up to date, or did you guys know what was going on? Like, or did you just start like?
Some were not. You know, like I remember our sound guy was like super into following you know, what was going on with COVID, and he was like reading about it every day. I think our guitar tech was doing that too. It was just like, so some people were really.
Like early adopters to it. I had a buddy like that. He like sent me an article that said like people think coronavirus is caused by Corona beer or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell's coronavirus? And now, you know.
That's what I was. What is it? Like, I mean, they were talking about it, and it just sounded so like unreal. And like I said, like we were just living in our own little world that didn't you know, and then we're getting out, and every day we were doing meet and greets. So we're like shaking people's hands, like, you know, and now when you look back on it, you go, wow, like, as cool, that really was cool. But I mean, at the time, it was so dangerous. Like, but we didn't really know that, I don't think, to that full extent. And I don't think, like, when I got off the tour bus and came back home, like, I didn't go to stores and stuff. So I went into a store and I'm like, where am I? This is like a sci-fi movie. Like, there's, you know,
nothing
like,
on the shelves.
and like everything was like, I'm like, this is such a different world. Then, you know, and I think it was just amplified because, like, we were out of touch with, you know, what was changing around us. Because all you see is the bus and the venue, and then the bus, and then the venue. And
certain, you know, in the beginning, like, you know, New York was really bad, or Seattle, or, you know, San Francisco. And even if you're in the middle of the country where the hot spots aren't, like, you know, out yet, it's probably, once you get to a bigger town, you're like, whoa, okay, what's going on?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Where were you guys at? Do you remember when you had to, like, turn around?
I definitely remember. Actually, did you say you're in San Diego?
Yeah.
That's where we were.
Really? Were you?
Because
you played the Belly Up in Solana Beach. Oh my gosh.
That's where we were, and it was like, we already knew a bunch of shows were canceled at that point. We ended up in San Diego, and it was like, we just got word, the tour is over. You're flying home. Like, we're gonna go to Benihana, and we're gonna go to the zoo. I met up with my cousin in San Diego. It was really fun, and we just, like, it was like, well, this is it, you know, like, and we flew home.
Oh my God! And then they just had to take them
back to Minneapolis to drop things off, and then drive back to, you know, buses are largely from, like, the south, so the tour bus had to go, like, all the way to Minneapolis, drop off gear. We all flew home because it was actually cheaper to do that, believe it or not. Like, and then the bus driver had to go home. So
wow. Oh my God. So the last show you guys had played was the Belly Up here in San Diego.
It's the last show we would have. That got canceled.
Oh, that got canceled.
Yeah, that got canceled. We were there for that show, and then they canceled it, like, the day. I feel like it was the day we got there. We didn't know it'd be canceled when we got there. It was like, you know. Yeah,
I know it sold out really quickly. Because I remember seeing it, I'm like, whoa, they're playing at the Belly Up? That seems like kind of a small venue for them. And then it was, like, sold out like that. And then, oh, okay. But wow.
The show we actually played was in LA at the Terry Graham Ballroom. That was the last show that we did. And you could tell, like, the show, like, you could tell something was going on. Like, the crowd was still really good, but it was like, you know, people were a little, like, I don't know. It's just, you could tell something was in the air. And it was like, you know, people were a little more kind of distant.
Yeah. And it was interesting because when it first was, the last interview we did in person was with G-Love from G-Love and Special Sauce. And I remember he came in and he was kind of like, he, like, gave me an elbow bump. He's like, eh. And it was like, it was funny. And we kind of made a joke about it and everything. But then we would have never, you know, and then 3 weeks later, it was like, you know, mask and don't touch people. And I was like, well, he actually, you know, he knew what he was talking about. It's crazy. He was,
And then I remember it went from fist bumping to, like, then people were like, if you did that, people would be like, you know.
Yeah, right. It was like this, and then it was the elbow, and then now it's just stay over there. Right. That's crazy. Well, I mean, hopefully it'll all let up soon. Do you guys think you'll do any, like, live streams together to promote the record?
I guess we don't even know yet. We're kind of getting the whole thing put together. I'm sure we'll do something. Like, we just our manager is doing all that kind of stuff, and he's like, I don't know, trying to figure out cool ways to do it. Because there's, I don't know, it's like you do it on the phone. It's like it seems, I don't know. We're still just trying to figure out what's the most interesting way to do anything.
Yeah, how do you make it sound good?
How do you make it sound good? How do you not make it too good?
Where the technology cuts out. It's just so many things. But we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've seen videos of bands doing, like, where it looks like there's live playing, like, a Zoom thing, but it's not because of, like, latency issues and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, like the thing where it's like the 4 squares.
Yeah, it's like 4 screens, but if they're all playing together, I guess the timing doesn't work.
Yeah, right.
Like,
right.
there's
I think a lot of those people are playing separately, and they just. I think that's how that works.
Yeah, and then they just edit it together. That's what I've been told. But it's funny because do you know the band Pup? They're like a punk band. UP.
Maybe heard the name. It sounded vaguely.
They're newer. They're getting put on a lot of the festival circuits, like I don't know, Riot Fest and stuff. But anyway, they did one early on, just kind of showing people like this is not possible to play live. Like somebody called them out on it, so they're like, okay, and then they put a song together with all of them playing at the same time, and it was just like this crazy like noise of just like it's so off time and everything. It just sounds so bad, but it's just hilarious because they're like, look, we would play live, but this is what it sounds like if we're all playing together. Yeah, so
yeah. I mean, we actually like had talked about that kind of thing, and I mean, I just go by my gut, like what I want to see, what we would do, and if I don't want to see it, then I would assume that nobody else will want to see that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. It's just like, I feel like you play to your strengths, like we can release music videos, we can do some acoustic things, we can do stuff like that, and then someday the world will go back to having live music, maybe.
Sure. Yeah. Hopefully it will. It will. Just
it will
take a little bit of time. That's why everybody has to just wear their mask and we'll be safe.
Exactly.
Hopefully, Well,
right.
Thank you guys so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. I just have one more question. I want to see if I can get an answer from you guys individually. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Know what your motive is for that, first of all. Just put yourself out there, try to meet people, try to learn as much as possible, don't stay stagnant. When people critique you, really take that into consideration. Don't be like easily offended. And then if you run into a roadblock, just try to learn to get over that roadblock. And just keep writing and exploring sounds or whatever you like, and do it because you like it. The motivation part, or intention, or why are you doing this kind of thing.
Love it.
Well, I think she covered about every base.
Sorry.
But I'll say. But I mean, so I guess the only thing I could really add to it is, it's important to appreciate the process, because it's like the old saying, it takes time to smell the roses. But really, like when you're schlepping it out, doing whatever it is that you're doing, it's always like something that you appreciate and look back on. It makes you like who you are. And so rather than ever getting frustrated with that, it's just kind of important to embrace what is going on around you all the time. And so that, and persistence is humongous. I think it's like staying with it, not getting impatient with yourself or impatient with circumstances around you. Just continue to be creative, continue to learn. Everything she just said. Basically, I'll just say what she said.
Work with what you have.
Work with what you have, yeah.
Also, it's nothing wrong with taking breaks either. Like I found that my musicianship will grow sometimes if I just take a break from an instrument or take a break from writing, and then I come back to it. Just set a time. Okay, I'm going to come back on this date or whatever.